Hello everyone and welcome to another Wernicke video. In this video we're going to take a look at some questions related to emotional intelligence at work, and we're going to review some conversation questions, read some possible responses to those questions, and learn some vocabulary while doing so. Our first question is, what is emotional intelligence? Let's take a look at a possible response for this. Emotional intelligence is like having a sixth sense for understanding and managing your emotions and the emotions of others. It's not rocket science, but it can make a world of difference in how you handle sticky situations at work. Imagine being able to read the room and respond in a way that smooths over any rough patches. That's emotional intelligence in a nutshell. So what this is saying is basically emotional intelligence is about being able to recognize the emotions that you or other people have and being able to adjust your behavior depending on what you read from the room, depending on how people feel. So that's emotional intelligence. But what we're going to do is read the response one more time, part by part, and try to learn some vocabulary there. I'm going to start from the beginning. Emotional intelligence is like having a sixth sense for understanding and managing your emotions and the emotions of others. So, what is a sixth sense? Sixth sense means a special ability, especially for understanding how people feel or what is happening. As an example, you can say some people seem to have a sixth sense for knowing when something is wrong. Some people have a sixth sense for it. They can understand when something is wrong. That's kind of like a special ability in recognizing what is happening. Next sentence. It's not rocket science, but it can make a world of difference. It's not rocket science. So what is rocket science? Rocket science is anything that is very complicated. If you want to say that something is complex, complicated, difficult to understand, then you can say it's rocket science. Or if you want to say that usually it's used in a negative form. So if you want to say something is not complicated, you say it's not rocket science. Come on. So it's not rocket science. It's not difficult. It's not complicated. It's not rocket science, but it can make a world of difference. Make a world of difference. It means it can make a huge difference, have a huge impact. As an example, I can say improving your listening skills can make a world of difference in team dynamics. Make a world of difference. Make a world of difference means to have a huge impact, to make a lot of difference. So it's not rocket science, but it can make a world of difference in how you handle sticky situations. So the word handle, you already know, it means to deal with something, to manage something. And sticky situations, what are sticky situations? Sticky situations are awkward, embarrassing, or difficult situations. So a situation that can be awkward or embarrassing, a little bit difficult. As an example, I can think of when you want to negotiate for a pay raise, when you want your boss to increase your salary. That can be a negotiation that's a little bit sticky. It's not easy. It's a little bit awkward. You might feel embarrassed and not want to do it, depending on your attitude. Here's an example sentence. Negotiating a raise can be a sticky situation, but it's worth it. Negotiating a raise can be sticky. It can be a sticky situation, but it's worth it. Okay, so it's not rocket science, but it can make a world of difference in how you handle sticky situations at work. Imagine being able to read the room. So what is read the room? Read the room means to understand the mood. Imagine you're in any room, in any condition, there are some people around you. You look at them and then you say, okay, how do they feel? Are they happy? Are they unhappy? Are they stressed? So you can adjust your attitude and behavior based on that. For example, if you're at a funeral, you better read the room and understand that it's not the best place to make a joke. So that's an example of reading the room, to understanding how people feel and behaving accordingly. So it says, imagine being able to read the room and respond in a way that smooths over any rough patches. So we have smooth over and rough patches, two things we need to learn there. Smooth over is to make something less problematic. Something is not okay, there is a problem, and you make it less problematic. You make it better. You improve the situation. That's smooth over. She tried to smooth over the disagreement between her coworkers. This was an example. I'm going to read it again. Look at this example. And remember that smooth over means to make something better, make it less problematic. She tried to smooth over the disagreement between her coworkers. So the original sentence says the original sentence says, imagine being able to read the room and respond in a way that smooth over any rough patches. So we need to now understand the meaning of rough patches. Rough patches means difficult periods, difficult times. As an example, the company went through a rough patch last year, but it is now doing well. So the company went over a rough patch, or the company went through a rough patch. It means the company had a difficult period. The company went through some rough patch last year, but it's doing well now. So those were the things that we wanted to learn while answering the question, what is emotional intelligence? We learned phrases like sixth sense, rocket science, make a world of difference, sticky situation, read the room, smooth over, and rough patch. Now we are going to continue with our second question. The question is, why is emotional intelligence important at work? I would like to encourage you to pause the video right now and try to answer the question yourselves. Try to think of any new vocabulary you've learned recently and try to incorporate it into your response. Again, the question is, why is emotional intelligence important at work? You might even be able to use some of the words we learned in the previous response in this for answering this question. For example, you can use the word read the room or sticky situation. They can be used in answering this question also. So I'm assuming that you've already paused the video and you tried to answer it yourself, because that's important for your speaking skills and also for activating the vocabulary you've just learned. But now I'm going to read a possible response to this question, and then we're going to learn more words through that. So the response is, emotional intelligence is a big deal at work because it helps you keep your cool when the going gets tough. If you can keep your head when everyone else is losing theirs, you'll stand out like a sore thumb in a good way. Plus, being able to empathize with colleagues can turn you into a real team player and make the workplace more harmonious. So I'm going to read it again, and we're going to learn some vocabulary, and I'm going to explain more. It says, emotional intelligence is a big deal. What is a big deal? When you say something is a big deal, it means it's important, it's significant, it's very important. A big deal is something that is important. So it says emotional intelligence is a big deal at work because it because it helps you keep your cool. Keep your cool means to stay calm. It helps you keep your cool. It helps you stay calm. When the going gets tough. When the going gets tough means during difficult times. When the going gets tough is during difficult times. So it helps you keep your cool when things go wrong or when the going gets tough. It can help you keep your head when everyone else is losing theirs. It means when everyone is stressed and cannot respond in a positive way, it helps you be able to respond to situations in a good way. You'll stand out like a sore thumb in a good way. If you do this, if you stay calm when everyone else is stressed, it helps you stand out. Stand out means to be different. But here we have a whole phrase, stand out like a sore thumb. Stand out like a sore thumb means to be very noticeable, to be very special. When you stand out, when you show that you're different in a very noticeable way, then you say you're standing out like a sore thumb. Plus, being able to empathize with colleagues can turn you into a real team player and make the workplace more harmonious. So harmonious is peaceful and friendly. Basically, the answer to the question is that emotional intelligence is very important at work. It's a big deal because it can make you stand out. It can make you be noticed and be different. Because everyone is stressed and they don't know how to deal with things, but you know how to recognize your feelings, the feelings of others, and empathize with them, and you can make the workplace more harmonious. That's the response. What we're going to do now is take a look at the vocabulary we've learned with example sentences. The first one is a big deal. As we said, a big deal means something very important, something significant. For example, emotional intelligence is a big deal in leadership roles because it affects team cohesion. So when you're a leader, emotional intelligence is a big deal because it affects cohesion of the team. Next one, keep your cool, stay calm. He managed to keep his cool during the heated meeting. The heated meeting means a meeting where everyone is very emotional and there is a lot of feelings and it's not really easy, it's tough. So in that meeting, he managed to keep his cool. He managed to stay calm. Next example. Next word is when the going gets tough. When the going gets tough means during difficult times. For example, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Wow, this is an interesting sentence. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. It means tough people, strong people do not stop when difficult times arrive. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. All right, next one. Stand out like a sore thumb. Stand out like a sore thumb means to be very noticeable. You can also just use the beginning part, stand out. Stand out is to be different. You can also use only the beginning. As an example, her bright red hair stood out like a sore thumb in the crowd. So imagine a group of people and one person and only one there has bright red hair. So they stand out like a sore thumb. Next word is empathize. And empathize means to understand people's feelings. Understand feelings. For example, good managers empathize with their employees' concerns. So if you're a good manager, you can empathize with your employees. And harmonious is peaceful and friendly. For example, the team strives to create a harmonious work environment. Strives means they're making an effort. They're trying hard. So the team is trying hard to create a harmonious work environment. Okay, so that was our second question here. We've so far in this video talked about what emotional intelligence is and also why it's important at work. After a pause, we're going to continue with the question, how can you tell if someone has good emotional intelligence? The next question is, how can you tell if someone has good emotional intelligence? Please pay attention that the word tell in this question has a specific meaning. It doesn't mean to say something, it means to recognize, to understand. It means how do you understand if someone has good emotional intelligence? I really like this usage of tell. It's kind of a different usage than what you see in normal meaning, which is like to tell someone something. Okay, so the question, how can you tell if someone has good emotional intelligence? You can spot someone with good emotional intelligence a mile away. They seem to have a knack for handling tough conversations without breaking a sweat. They also listen more than they speak and are great at putting themselves in other people's shoes. These folks often end up being the go-to person when there is a conflict because they can keep the peace like nobody's business. Wow, lots of vocabulary here that we can learn together. And do not worry if you did not answer the whole thing. Basically, it says it's very easy to recognize, to tell if someone has good emotional intelligence. These people have some specific characteristics, some specific way of behavior. So we can tell, we can understand who has good emotional intelligence. So I'm going to read the whole text part by part, and we're going to learn the vocabulary. You can spot someone with good emotional intelligence. Spot is to notice. So if you have If there are a number of people and say, oh, this is the person I'm talking about, it means you're spotting that person. It means you're finding the right person. To find, to notice, that's spot. Also, as a noun, it can mean a place, but here it's a verb. I can read you an example for this. It's easy to spot someone who's confident. If you're looking at a picture of 10 people and one of them looks different and you say, I spot him, he's the person who's confident in this picture. So you're spotting that person. It means you're finding the place of that person. By the way, that's why I also mentioned that it can be a noun and mean a place, because the meanings in the verb form and the noun form are kind of similar. Like when you spot something, it means you find its place. And as a noun, it means a place. So the two of them are kind of connected. Anyways, you can spot someone with good emotional intelligence a mile away. A mile away means very easily, even when they're very far from you. For example, you can see his enthusiasm from a mile away. So it's very obvious. You can see it easily. They seem to have a knack for handling tough conversations. A knack for something is a natural ability, special skill. If you have a knack for something, it means you are very good at it naturally. Pay attention that this word has a silent K in the beginning. A knack for something. It's written as K-N-A-C-K, but the beginning K is silent. So they seem to have a knack for handling tough conversations. Handling tough conversations means to deal with difficult conversations, to have difficult conversations. Without breaking a sweat. Without breaking a sweat means very easily. If you do something without breaking a sweat, it means you don't even have to try that hard. It's easy for you. For example, he completed the project without breaking a sweat. He completed the project without breaking a sweat. All right, let's continue. They also listen more than they speak and are great at putting themselves in other people's shoes. To put yourself in someone's shoes, this is the most relevant idiom when we're talking about emotional intelligence. It's a core thing. To put yourself in someone's shoes is to understand their feelings. If you understand their feelings, you can say, I'm putting myself in their shoes. I can read you an example. Good managers put themselves in other people's shoes. Again, good managers put themselves in other people's shoes. If you have the capacity to put yourself in your employees' shoes, then you are a good manager. You have empathy. These folks, so folks means people, these folks often end up being the go-to person. End up is at the end they are those people. End up is when you see the last result of something, you can use the phrase end up. So basically it's saying these are the go-to person when there is a conflict. So what is a go-to person? The go-to person is the one who is relied on. The person we need, the person we use, the person we go to, we call that the go-to person. There is a dash or hyphen there when you write this word. These folks often end up being the go-to person when there is a conflict. So it means if there is a conflict, these are the people we usually go to for help. I'm going to read you an example for the phrase go-to person. She is the go-to person for all IT issues in our office. So if you have IT support and you always go to this person for IT problems, then you say she is the go-to person for all our IT questions or issues. So it says these folks often end up being the go-to person when there is a conflict because they can keep the peace like nobody's business. So like nobody's business means extremely well. Like nobody's business. I'm going to read you an example. She handles conflict resolution like nobody's business, ensuring everyone feels heard and respected. So if there is a person who can deal with conflicts very well, extremely well, we say she handles conflicts like nobody's business. She handles conflicts like nobody's business. So that means they can do it very well. So that was our third question about how can you tell if someone has good emotional intelligence. After a pause, we're going to continue with question 4. What are some signs of poor emotional intelligence? We're going to talk about poor emotional intelligence after the pause. All right, let's continue with a next question. What are some signs of poor emotional intelligence? What you can do here before you listen to the response I'm going to read is you can pause the video and try to respond to this question yourselves. For example, previously we talked about the signs of good emotional intelligence. We said that people who have good emotional intelligence can read the room, they have a knack for helping people, they can deal with conflicts like nobody's business. So those are the characteristics we mentioned for people with good emotional intelligence. If you make all of that negative or reverse, then you're talking about people with poor emotional intelligence. So you can answer this question using some of the vocabulary you've learned in the previous responses. And I would like to encourage you to do so. Again, this is because you want to activate the words you've learned. If you just learn and never use them in conversation, in a controlled environment, then you'll not be able to use them in meetings and work situations either. But anyways, the question is, what are some signs of poor emotional intelligence? I'm going to read you the response and we're going to practice it. This one has a myriad of new phrases that we're going to learn together. People with poor emotional intelligence often wear their heart on their sleeve, which can lead to outbursts at the drop of a hat. They might struggle to see things from another person's perspective and often jump the gun in conversations, interrupting or dominating the discussion. This can rub people the wrong way and create unnecessary tension in the workplace. So that's the whole text. It basically means these people cannot control their emotions, they cause conflicts, and they struggle to have empathy. What I'm going to do is read it part by part, and we can practice the new vocabulary there. People with poor emotional intelligence often wear their heart on their sleeve. So wear their heart on their sleeve, it means they show emotions openly. They show emotions openly. So it means they cannot hide their emotions. They wear their heart on their sleeve, which can lead to outbursts. Lead to means cause. It can cause outbursts. Outbursts are when people are unhappy and they express it and things get heated. It can lead to outbursts at the drop of a hat. At the drop of a hat means very quickly. I'm going to read you an example for this. He's ready to travel at the drop of a hat. He's ready to travel at the drop of a hat, so very quickly. You can imagine that, right? Before a hat reaches the ground, it's very quickly. They might struggle to see things from another person's perspective and often jump the gun in conversations. Jump the gun is act too soon. Jump the gun. For example, we shouldn't jump the gun and make decisions without all the facts. So jump the gun is when you act in a rash way without thinking about everything. This can rub people the wrong way. Rub people the wrong way is to annoy people. To annoy, to bother people. This can rub people the wrong way and create unnecessary tension in the workplace. Okay, so I think I did not read some examples for some of the vocabulary that we learned here, so I'm going to read it now. We learned the phrase, wear your heart on your sleeve, and I said that it means to show your emotions openly and not be able to control them. Show emotions openly. I'm going to read you an example for this. She's the type of person who wears her heart on her sleeve. She's the type of person who wears her heart on her sleeve. This is an example for to wear your heart on your sleeve. As I said, it means to show your emotions openly without any restraint, without any control. We learned the phrase, rub people the wrong way. Rub people the wrong way. As I said, it means to annoy someone. And here's an example. His constant joking can rub people the wrong way. So if you constantly joke, maybe you can rub people the wrong way, that you can annoy someone. I also said that outbursts, the word outbursts means sudden, strong expressions of emotion. Sudden, strong expression of emotion is an outburst. Here's an example. Her angry outbursts are hard to deal with. So imagine someone constantly has outbursts. They suddenly express their emotions in a strong way, usually anger or frustration. This can be hard to deal with for you, an outburst. And the word tension is stress or strain, tension. There was a lot of tension in the office after the announcement. So if there's some announcement, for example, that there's going to be layoffs, then I can imagine there will be a lot of tension afterwards. So we learned also some vocabulary here in answering the question, what are some signs of poor emotional intelligence? Now we're going to continue with our fifth question for this video. Can emotional intelligence be learned? Can emotional intelligence be learned? We're going to have a pause. You can use this opportunity to try to answer the question yourselves, and then we're going to read the response after the pause. So here's our question. Can emotional intelligence be learned? I'm going to read it for you, read the response. Absolutely. Emotional intelligence can be learned. It's not something that you're born with, like being a natural at sports. With a bit of practice and patience, you can sharpen your emotional intelligence skills. Think of it as building muscle. The more you work at it, the stronger it gets. Just like Rome wasn't built in a day, improving your emotional intelligence takes time. So basically, the response is arguing that you can work on your emotional intelligence, and it's something that you can work on. It doesn't have to be by nature, it can happen by nurture. So I'm going to read it part by part now, and we're going to learn some vocabulary there. It starts with absolutely. Emotional intelligence can be learned. It's not something you're born with, like being a natural. I like this expression, a natural. It has two parts, natural and also the article a natural. Like being a natural at sports. If you are a natural at something, it means you are inherently good at it. A natural is to be inherently good at something. For example, she's a natural at public speaking. She's a natural at public speaking. Okay, I continue with the text. With a bit of practice and patience, you can sharpen your emotional intelligence skills. So the word sharpen, I like it. It's an interesting word because it's made by sharp, the adjective, which is someone who's good at something. I'm sharp at something. So then you add the suffix en, sharp plus en, then you have a verb. If you sharpen something, you make it sharper, or basically you improve it. Here's an example. He took courses to sharpen his programming skills. If you want to have sharp programming skills, then you take a course. Then you can say, I'm sharpening my programming skills. So that's the word sharpen, to improve, to make something sharper or better. Think of it as building muscle. The more you work at it, the stronger it gets. The more you work at it, the stronger it gets. It's a very interesting double comparative structure. The more. You're using two comparatives here. So the more you work at it, the stronger it gets. It means if you work at it more, it will get stronger. Two things that happen at the same time. Two things that change at the same time. The more you work at it, the stronger it gets. The opposite thing, which would be the less you work at it, the less strong it will be. It's basically another example of using this double comparative. I can make you a few other examples so it's clear. I can say, the more you exercise, the healthier you will be. Or the more the practice, the more the reward. So you can even use four of the article there. I'm going to make you another example with a lot of the's there. You can say, the more the reward, the harder the attempt. So okay, it's not a perfect example, but it's using the structure correctly. So you're using the at least 2 times, or maybe 3 or 4 in a sentence to show that 2 things are changing at the same time. It's an interesting structure, and I might make a video on that someday. For now, I'm going to get back to the response. Think of it as building muscle. The more you work at it, the stronger it gets. Just like Rome wasn't built in a day. Rome wasn't built in a day is an idiom, a proverb, which means great things take time. As an example, learning a new language takes time. Rome wasn't built in a day. So if you want to emphasize that something takes time, you can say, Rome wasn't built in a day. Okay, so that's it. That's our 5 questions for this video. We talked about emotional intelligence and learned some vocabulary. Remember to use these words in a controlled environment before you can use them in real conversations in real life. I hope it's helped you.